You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast, exposing the struggles and celebrating the successes in the life of coaches who are action takers and creating authentic impact in today's world. Whether you're just starting out, expanding your reach, or exploding your impact, you're in the right place right now. Stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Now, here are your hosts of the Coach's Journey podcast.
All right, what's up, Coaches Nation? Excited to see you again this week. If you're listening to this relatively close to when we're recording it, it is starting to shift into fall. I don't know if you guys all feel it, depending on where you're at, but I sure do. It's actually dropped below 50 degrees at night, and it's glorious. I love that cool weather. So I'm Dr. Sherry Flewellen, and with our co-host, Faisal Insan, and we have an amazing guest, which you guys are going to absolutely adore getting to know her over this podcast. She's actually a repeat personality in our community, because she was a presenter for us almost a year ago, might have been a little bit longer than that, on a whole day that we did on lead gen as a coach. And she's the master of Instagram. And so I don't know if that's going to come up today. And if it doesn't, that's totally okay, because we've got a lot of resources for you we can refer you back to. But she's got so much to share about her journey as a coach that I'm so excited for you guys to hear what she's been doing and kind of the journey that she's been through. But Kelly and Faisal, as you may or may not know, before we jump into the story, we love to share wins from this last week just to set the tone of awesomeness. And so, Kelly, would you like to start? It can be a business win, it can be a personal, family, it doesn't matter. Just something cool that you can celebrate and we can celebrate with you.
Oh, man. I feel like there's so much goodness. I'm always chasing the happy. So I feel like we've got wins left and right. So personal, we just had a roof put on. So that was a good bucket list item. And then personal wise, and then business wise, it's been amazing to go wider versus just deeper with clients. So we've had a lot of great corporate wins this past week with companies like really leaning in and maximizing their culture, and which in turn is maximizing their revenue and profit at the end. So those are all good wins.
Awesome. Now, did you have a roof before? And
we just needed it put on, and it was like, it's not one of those fun things. So I've been putting it off, but I'm all about energy and keeping your energy. And that roof has been taking too much of my mind space. So the fact that it's done, I feel like a new human, like I just got a ton of space back.
That's awesome. I'm in the real estate space. I've literally never heard somebody talk about getting a new roof with such enthusiasm and bubble as you just did. So that's incredible.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the other side of it now. So I'm like, get back to my passion. Don't have to think of the roof anymore.
That's awesome. Faisal, how about you? What's some wins?
Wins. Lots of wins. I think on the business end, just getting ready from October on, I'm in travel mode. So I'll be in US and Mexico and Thailand, all over the place up until February, and even probably past that. Just getting ready for the event in October in Denver, and then there's one in Toronto, and then the Thailand one, which is really exciting for me. It's going to be a whole retreat, and working through that has been just amazing. The journey has been amazing. It just came out of nothing, and all of these events came out of nothing, and now it's shaping up to something that we're going to be actually doing, and it'll be fun to meet people in person, because it's been too many long years.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I can tell that you just are rare to go, like a caged animal getting ready to be released into the wild.
I am. That's a good analogy. That's kind of how it feels like.
So I would have to say one of my big wins is I wrote another ebook. I absolutely love writing. And so I'm getting ready to get that into a funnel. It's real estate related around syndications. And so I've given it to a few people that I trust their opinions, and they've given me some good feedback, little things I can tweak, but the overall general response was like, oh my gosh, it was so interesting. Because who really reads a real estate ebook and like thinks it's funny or interesting or engaging? Well, that was like, I was really working hard on that. And so I got good feedback on that. And so I'm super excited to, as I told with Faisal, to release it into the wild and see what happens. So that's my win for the week.
I love it. That's good. Good stuff.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So before we jump into Kelly's story, we are going to pause and talk a little bit about our sponsor for the Coach's Journey podcast, and it is the Coaching Mastery community. It is a really, really important community that is hosted by coaches for coaches, and the whole point of it is to create a supportive, a growth-oriented community for coaches to really kind of figure out how are they going to contribute in the world, where they're stuck, how, what are the hows of getting unstuck, and kind of all of the nitty-gritty things that you experience on your coaching journey. And the thing I love about the Coaching Mastery community is we're not like top down, in that we don't have like one coach that like Faisal, he's doing some amazing things, but the community is not like Faisal is our token coach and you must follow him, you must do everything he does. It's not that way, because every coach is different. We all have different ways that we can contribute. We all have different skill sets and different desires and dreams. And so it's a very rich tapestry of different types of coaches that are able to support each other in whatever path it is that they're wanting to take or they're on. So that's, I've reflected a lot over the last couple of weeks about our community, and I think the diversity of support is I think my favorite piece. What do you have to add to that, Faisal?
So, I was thinking about the whole, like when I'm thinking about my events, originally like a couple of years back, I started doing these webinars. Most of the feedback that I got that was very useful for me came out of our community. I literally did those webinars, I shared it, and I got feedback from other professionals who have done this. And just this event, like you've seen, Sherry, I've posted all my trailers, all the content, like it gave me feedback, and I've had to do like 4 or 5 revisions after that. Much of it came from the useful kind of feedback came from the community. Yeah. To me, that's incredibly useful, because I don't know what the hell I'm putting out. I throw something together, it's like, okay, here you go. But just having a multiple set of eyes who are noticing different things, just that is incredibly valuable, other than all the other things that you mentioned to me.
Absolutely. And honestly, my ebook, I got a lot of feedback from folks in our community, which is great, because most of them are not in real estate. And so it gives me feedback from the perspective of who I probably am going to be sending the ebooks to. So it's amazing. If you guys want more information, go to coachingmasterycommunity.com or look us up at Facebook. We've got a free Facebook group that you are welcome to join and engage in, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it. All right, so we maybe touch on that again at the end, but I want to jump into Kelly, because she's got some important stuff on her schedule today. We want to honor her time and yours. Kelly, so excited to see you today. This is Kelly Adams.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. I feel like every time I'm like, you can't woo woo, and it just like comes out. Like it's so woo woo, I'm here. Oh, Bill and cheerleader. Okay, let's go. Woo! All right, ready.
Yep. That's awesome. Kelly, one of the first questions we usually ask our coaching guests, how did you even get into the coaching space? What did that look like?
Yep. So coaching, I think just a little bit of segue just to introduce is I did own 2 brick and mortars from 2006 through 2018. So it was when I had felt like I had mastered my business and had been able to delegate, bring other people in, that I was looking for another passion. So at that point in time, when I first started back in 2017, I was actually a health and wellness and a mindset coach. the reason I became health and wellness is because I had some of my own health issues that came to fruition through burnout of growing my business, which actually brings me to what my legacy work here now is, to help individuals and organizations have balance and bank without the burnout. So I started as health and wellness, and I was like, I had healed myself holistically. I was having a lot of brain fog, confusion, like really like my health was going, I would say like I was only, how old was I? I'm 43 now. I would have been like 36-ish or something at the time, way too young to be having these kind of issues. But what had happened, while growing the business, tunnel vision to grow and scale, like I wasn't taking as good care of myself. I was focused on growing. My priorities became out of alignment. I ended up eating more fast food than I needed to. So when I healed my body, I started coaching other people. I was like, if I feel this good now, I need to share this with other executives and entrepreneurs so they can feel good and not have burnout. Then I actually only stayed like a health and wellness and mindset coach for about a year, because what I realized is just because I had healed and I was excited about it, that wasn't what my magic was. My magic was mindset. My magic is helping you unbecome. But my clients were getting amazing weight loss results, and it was all because of the mindset and the subconscious work. So dropped that part of it. And then I've been full-time coaching and consulting with individuals and organizations since 2019 exclusively, without the fitness part of my story in there.
Awesome. So can I just say, I totally relate to you on multiple levels. I am 43. I had a brick and mortar business from 2010 to 2019 is when I sold it. And yeah, the challenge of running that and the burnout, all of that, totally, I got you, girl.
Yeah. So in 2018, this will hit then too. We sold the company, had more money than I'd ever had in my entire life. And I'm laying there on the ground, fetal position. Is this as good as it gets? Mm-hmm. And I felt so tired. That's a different kind of tired. That's like depleted. Why should I feel this way? Like if I had just worked so hard to get to the top, wasn't it supposed to feel and look different? I'm getting goosebumps now because it just takes me back to that moment. So laying there in a fetal position, that's actually part of my coaching story too. I'm crying out, God, whoever listened, like in that moment, like, why do I feel so bad when everything looks so good? I also was able to articulate it at that time that I was a public success and a private failure. Mm-hmm. So although everything looked good on the outside, I had the house, we bought 2 cars one day. I had the 2.5, but 3 kids, the dogs, I had everything, but felt like I was still numbing out, like something was off. So that took me to my own journey. I've been doing mindset. My first mindset coach and personal development was all the way back in 2016, which supported growing the brick and mortars. But I really didn't leverage that and leverage like coming home to yourself as your greatest asset until I realized the validation stopped and the money stopped. And who am I if I'm not being constantly validated?
That's a really powerful point to be at. And I think as coaches, I've seen this and I experienced this as well. When I sold my business, I was generating income, and then all of a sudden, like, even though it was my own paycheck, I'm like, what is my value now? Like, I am a mom, I'm a wife, like I get those things, but I wasn't even contributing to our financial household and in that way. And I see a lot of other coaches who are transitioning out of maybe a W-2, and now they're struggling financially. And so to compound that feeling of financial failure on top of all of the other things, that the mindset challenges we have when we're shifting identities and shifting career paths, that's a lot to take in.
Yeah. And I also had a lot of imposter syndrome that I had to work through at first, because offline in my companies, I was crushing it. I was the bomb. Everybody knew about me in my city, in my town. I was doing all the events, and it was an event management background I come from. And then all of a sudden move online, nobody knows who I am. I felt like I had to prove myself. And that's a whole nother part of the story. So I think when we work sometimes for other people, it's easy to hide behind their logo, their identity. I'm Kelly with Coca-Cola, versus when you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, a coach, a healer, it's all about you. There's nothing to hide behind. So I feel like that's when, as a coach or entrepreneur, I call them shadows. That's when the shadows come to the light. And I always say, when the shadows come to the light, we gain our power and our fears lose theirs. So that kind of would probably be a good segue into like where we're heading is that. So
I just love listening to this, and I love being the youngest one in the room. I don't know why I'm enjoying that.
You've got more gray hairs than I do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm super gray, but my hair girl's really good. She colors it. She said, I've been gray for so long. I'm like, just make it blonde, make it white, whatever we need to do.
But I think the thing that I love is because you guys have had probably a few more years of experiences that are different. And I was just thinking about, like, most of the people that I'm close with, they're actually much older than me. Yeah. They're either in their mid 40s or early 50s. Yeah. Sometimes even more than that. And like one of my close friends, he is like 10 years older than me. And when he talks, he's like, in our age group. And then I stop him like, why do you always put me in your age group?
Yeah. So it used to bother me when I first came online, honestly, because I was like thinking, who am I competing with? And then I realized my wisdom is collapsing time for my clients. My mistakes get to become their learning. So that's that. What I had to do is find somebody who was older and wiser than what I was in that moment to tap into, to follow. Like, she didn't know I was following her, but you know what I mean? Somebody else I needed to embody to see somebody older, more successful in the coaching industry. Because when I entered in, it was a younger demographic. Like literally some of my clients in the beginning, I was like the mom of mindset. So like that's like an idea of like the age discrepancy. But then my power was activated when I realized that like older just means wiser. Like age is irrelevant. Age is an illusion. How do you feel?
Thank you, wise ones.
Yeah.
No, really, I completely agree with that. All right. That's it. Like, you guys have all the wisdom. I don't need to know. So I would really, because I know the areas that you've really focused on is the social media piece, the business piece, and really focusing on moving that forward. And I know you help. I think you help other coaches. I've heard you say that here and there. And so most of our viewers would be newer coaches who have started out and they've been a couple of years in it. And so maybe you can share a little bit about your experience on the business, because you came from a business background. So I'm thinking that partially helped you. But you've had to probably evolve as well and adapt it to the whole social media world and the online business systems, and how maybe you can touch on that a little bit and help us understand how you've been able to move your business forward in the way that you have.
Yeah, I'm making a little note. Yeah, here's an example. I'm gonna age myself more here. When we had our brick and mortar, one of our prime marketing strategies when the recession hit in 2008 was a $25,000 ad we took out in the phone book. Nobody was even using online. So it was like, it was a huge, like I started on Facebook as a health and wellness coach because that was what my coach had done. And then when I kind of left, I think all the platforms, any platform works when you work it, period. I could go on a tangent. Do you want me? This could go two ways.
Can you elaborate on that part? Any platform works if you work, because I think that's a profound point. Because a lot of times coaches are like, "Oh, which platform? How many should I be on?" Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. Okay. Let me make a note to myself about the platforms versus work, because I do have strong opinions on platforms versus. Okay. Ooh, so basically, Here's how I want to explain it. McDonald's has been in business every day since 1955. McDonald's has done one thing well every single day. They've sold hamburgers. So when you're an entrepreneur, you're a new coach, You have to have a strong mindset, and you have to feel confident enough to show up and have conversations. Conversations lead to connections, which lead to cash. So if you're the world's best known secret and you want to be a coach, sorry, you're out of business. You should probably go work for a paycheck. So you have to be real comfortable being seen. And that's where people's traumas, that's where people's shadows, that's where people's insecurities, the imposter syndrome comes up. And I had a lot of imposter syndrome when I started. Actually, matter of fact, it makes me like, Lord, thank you for growth. When I look back at old videos of myself, like starting out, I was so nervous and so insecure. I would play a song like, okay, here, this girl is on fire, Alicia Keys. I would press live and play Alicia Keys for like 2 minutes and just sit there because I was too frozen to move. I was like, ah, and I would just sit there and I'd be like, this girl is on fire. And then like 2 minutes in, I'd have enough courage to like bleh, barf something. What I did is I think that we need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So how you show up and do that is you give it a lighter feeling. If I say I have to show up on live as a new coach, you have to be seen. I wasn't ready for that. But all of a sudden, when I said I'm so old school because old school stuff works. I would make a paper grid, 100 lines. And my goal was to give my light or share. So I think your money is the energetic exchange of the value you put into the world. So I wasn't caring. I had to switch the script in my mind. I didn't care about getting a client. I cared about getting my message out, and then the right people are going to be drawn to me. So I put 100 grids down, 100 grids. And every time I did a live video, I reached out to somebody. I had a conversation. I got in as many rooms as possible. And even to this day, I let my reputation and my results create my revenue. I'm never out of business. And it's because I serve really well. I served really well back then. So if you want to be a fully booked out coach, you have to feel like a fully booked out coach. So body moves, mind follows. So I had to go to work and start serving, and then the money took care of itself. So that's how I began to switch the script in my head. My tushy was also under fire, because if I didn't make it happen, I was going to have to go get a job again, because I was at that point in my career. So I had to have my faith bigger than my fear at that moment. And it was like, I was trying what everybody else was doing and it wasn't working. I'd create a recipe. Ooh, she looks successful. Let me grab a piece of her. She looks successful. Ooh, he's doing this. And so I lost me. And when I say me, it's Faisal, it's you, Sherry, like me, we are our own magic. Nobody does anything the way we do. So when I lost me, no wonder I wasn't having clients. The minute then I decided to show up, be my fun, bubbly, goofy self, which I thought I couldn't be online for some reason because I thought people wouldn't take me professionally. The minute I did that, my business changed, period. Because they're not ever buying. I could sell you anything in this moment, and I could get talking. I use this example, but I don't know if I should use it here, but I always talk about like selling somebody a turd. I could literally sell you that because of how my excitement is. So if you know your energy is your business card, your greatest asset is your mindset and taking care of yourself, and then let the business show up and serve and start operating from there. We get stuck in the very beginning. I need a website. I made my first 6 figures without a website. Multiple 6 figures without a website. I need a website. I need a landing page. No, you need to open your mouth and go share. That's what you need to do.
Woohoo! I love that. That's why I said that's interesting. She's got a strong opinion about that. You actually reminded me of my first few videos that I did. You were actually going through some old videos the other day on my old laptop. And one of my first videos popped up, and I'm getting ready and the camera is on, and this is me. So I'm breathing, and like, we both just dropped, my wife and I started laughing. It was painful. But
it is
hilarious.
Painful. I mean, I would be sweating. You can see videos where I had full out hives. Like when I got nervous, they'll be here and on my chest. I have hives and I'm sitting there singing Alicia Keys. Like, come on, if I did that, you guys, anybody can do it.
And that really I mean, I get it when somebody, I really believe that if you are like, you love writing and that's your thing, then go do it. You will probably be successful at that. But video is becoming more and more popular, and a lot of times we don't go on it because we're uncomfortable. I don't think anybody's comfortable on video, especially the way video is now on live. And you just have to like train yourself to be that if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna do this consistently, if this is your model for getting clients. But whether it's written or with video, I love your idea of you need to put yourself out there, not because you don't need websites, you don't need professional stuff. And I completely agree. My first 6-figure, I had no functional website. It was like a weird landing page with no functionality. Half the stuff didn't work. And then later on, I was like, okay, I need to have something now.
Like something legit. Yeah. But you know what? Those are all self-sabotage and escapist activities. Like it's almost like, let me do the fun stuff. Let me play, let me do this and build this. That's actually keeping you away from serving. And I love reframes. I think if I could give people reframes all day long for how they're thinking and then how to turn it around to support them. Because if you say you have to show up to sell, that feels heavy. That feels heavy for a lot of people. Heavy feelings equate to heavy actions in our life and business. So how can we make it feel lighter in our body? Light feelings equate to light actions. So you got to switch the script to serving versus selling. If you're selling, you're making it about you and your pocketbooks. If you're serving, you don't care what your message is. You're just getting it out there. So you need to serve, not sell.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's very much a conversation we have a lot in the leadership team, in the coaching mastery community is, it's always, how can we have conversations to support people and help people regardless of what the ultimate outcome is of that conversation. As long as they're being supported, then we're fulfilling our mission and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah.
100.
And one of the things that we focused on, at least on the business end, that like partly we learned from you, from so many other people who are doing this stuff, and from our own experiences, that the hardest part is actually going out there and having those conversations, whether it's in a group setting or one-on-one. And much of what we're trying to do is help our coaches with that courage and with some tools here and there, which are very basic, to just go out there and start having conversations. Because I think that in itself starts to pick up momentum, because ultimately our business as coaches, it's in conversation. You're either in a group conversation like this, or you're in one-on-one. And that leads to your offers, and that leads to income after you've served. Yeah. And what I love about like the simplicity, I love the simplicity of it, is because when I started out, when we were looking at all these complicated marketing models and everything, like if you break all of it down, it comes down to having conversations. You can build a whole framework around it as you build systems and everything, but everything ultimately leads to that conversation. How can we move that forward? So then I love your idea of reframing, but then how did you get yourself, like you said that you got yourself in front of people. So initially you started with video for you, but then how did you get yourself in front of businesses and people as you started doing this more?
Okay, so businesses almost came a little bit secondary. I'll tell you how I naturally transitioned to that. But when I first started, when I would get a client, again, like I would make sure that my results, my goal is to get, I jokingly say, I want you to be a naked raw baby chicken, meaning I want you to pluck everything away. I want to get you results as soon as possible. My personal philosophy and how I structure my business, I want you in and out, because I'm interested in the greater impact of the collective. I'm one person. If I can get you healed, healthy, and wealthy, and then you can go do that, and now we go wider, faster. So when I first started, a lot of high level business coaches, now I do all that myself, but a lot of those coaches would hire me, or I would share my expertise. I would volunteer to do a free session inside these different containers. And then I served well, they got good results. And then they would say, hey, and they would end up hiring me contractually to be the mindset expert inside their containers. And when you feel good, you play good. When you play good, they pay good. Their clients were getting 10x the results because of the mindset work paired with the business. So, and then when I got to a bandwidth issue, but let me back that up. The goal is to get in as many rooms as possible, whether you're in-person networking, whether you're showing up to I do speed networking events in my private Facebook group all the time. So I like to bring people together. I think connection and community is key. Your network determines your net worth. So in-person and out-person events, like rooms, serve. I did so much stuff for free in the beginning because I knew once I got in and they experienced me, it was game on. But you don't know you need me until I show you that you need me. So, and I gave a ton of free value. I started, in the beginning, I started a private Facebook group with my call to actions to always be come into the group. Again, how can I expedite that like, know, and trust factor? Okay, I think you deserve the right to sell after you've served. So if you're coming into my community now and I'm focusing on sending people in there, and then I'm serving well in there, one of my membership questions is, do you want to book a call with Kelly? Boom. Like, I've given you so much value up front that I now earn the right to ask you if you want to do business together. And another thing is, don't take it personal, because if somebody says no, it says nothing about me. It just means it's not the right fit right now. So you have to get real strong in not making things mean anything about you, and just not the right one at the right time. Like if your grandma gives you perfume and it smells and stinks, does that mean anything? No, it means you're going to set it aside. You're not going to wear it. Doesn't mean you don't like your grandma. So that's the same mindset I teach people to step into. You got to get self-love strong. At the end of the day, it's self-love strong. When you're a coach and you're in sales and you're in leadership.
I love that. I love the grandma analogy. So I'll share with you a story. So I actually had an intro call last week with a potential client, and I actually have the sales call today, or the discovery call today. And yes, that's always that for them. So she come and she booked the call from my website. I vaguely remembered her in a conversation, one of the meetups that I did, virtual meetups that I was a part of, like a year and a half ago or something like that. And I had to ask her, I'm like, where did we meet? And she told me, she's like, oh, I saw you first time. And I'm like, what made you book this call? She's like, it seems like wherever I go, you're there. Obviously, that's not true. So right. She took it, and her perception was very interesting. Yeah. She's like, I feel like this is a sign for me,
right,
from the universe, from God, and that might be so. But that's also an effort on my part too, because I've been very intentional on being on multiple platforms everywhere in my niche.
Yeah.
So I'm not everywhere. I'm everywhere within my niche. and
right.
That's where I kind of like, I don't care who's running a meetup, who's running a podcast. I'm reaching out to them, and I'm in the beginning, I used to wait, but now I'm very proactive about that stuff. Well, I need to go and serve. And I need to go and serve. And then the result is usually, it's like, okay, I'm seeing you in all these places. Usually when I get a referral, it's like, hey, I talked to this client of you who had worked with you, or I talked to this person who had done a session with you, or I talked to this person who was in a training with you, these kind of comments that I get. And that's because there's a consistent effort that starts to snowball after a while. You don't see the results right away. You see it after a little bit. So I've seen it, and in the beginning kind of caught me by surprise, because I kind of didn't equate it. It didn't compute that all those calls that I did would equate to a bunch of referrals all at once, but it added up to that. And then I realized that, holy shoot, there's the gold mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. You just said it. It's momentum. It's continuing to show up. That's why I don't like goals. I like goals, but I don't like how you have a goal that with a beginning or end. I like you to chase your passion, and then goals are like a bonus. You just kept showing up and serving, created momentum. And every person you come in contact, how I think is, if you're not a client, it's yet. So like, I always pretend everybody has a sign on their forehead that says, make me feel important. I don't care if I see you for 1 minute or an hour, you're going to feel important, and you're going to remember me when you do need a mindset or a business strategy or a leadership consultant, whatever you need, I'm going to be on your mind. So like even on Instagram, and I'm like, if it's a new follower, oh my goodness, I can't wait. She came into my world. She's a client, if not now, tomorrow. You know what I mean? I just assume everybody is there, that they are either a client now or they will be.
That's awesome.
I love
Kelly,
that.
as you've kind of filled up, as you've put your stuff out and you've maximized your time or in your ability to serve, how have you shifted your business kind of structure?
Yeah.
And how are you looking at that going forward as well?
Okay. So I think just to kind of hit those new coaches, I think whether it's market research calls or just exploratory discovery calls, get as many as possible till you have a full private roster, whatever that means. It means something different for different people. So what I personally do is Monday through Wednesday, I work with private clients, and then Thursday and Friday, I do corporate consulting. So that's how I've personally chose to do it. But I think once you hit your private client, whatever that magic number is for you, then the next natural thing is to put them in a group, and then make your group price point the price of your private mentorship. And now the close proximity to private mentorship, your fees go up for private mentorship. So, and then all my individual clients, because I would say I have a good split of 50% coaches. I work with so many coaches, and then I work with real estate agents, athletes, CEOs, and executives. Those are all people that are connected to other people. All those people brought me into their companies. They're high level people in their companies. So again, this goes back to me wanting to get results fast, because they're like, you've changed. You look different. How are you making so much money? Oh, that was my coach, Kelly. Boom. Now I'm in. You know what I mean? So I leverage people and take care of people, and people take care of me. So then my private clients, they're like, hey, so then I would start doing emotional intelligence trainings inside organizations. And then I would start working with other high level people. And then it kind of just expanded from there. But none of this was in my blueprint of how I thought it was going to be. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, surrender is key, because we often show up with one way, how we think it's going to look or feel. And when it looks different, we feel like we're not successful. Are we not successful, or are there other synchronicities and possibilities right in front of you, but you can't see them because you think it has to work this way? I never tried to enter into somebody's container to be the mindset expert. I never by default said I was going to start bringing on corporate consulting. And now we have a whole company called Culture Key Consulting. Like, those happened by me being open to the possibilities in front of me and focusing on just serving.
Yeah, I really love that theme of service in the background. And I feel like, and I just had a conversation with another coach that she really knows that she has ideal clients around her, but she can't offer the conversation. I know she's a good coach for sure.
Okay. So
she struggles with that, right? And this is like, I know early on in my path, I had opportunities. I either didn't notice them, or I was too afraid to approach them, one or the other. And I would do all the background stuff. Oh, let me set up this. Let me set up that. It's all
self-sabotaging.
Yeah, it's all like self-sabotage tactics. And at some level, I knew it. I just never acknowledged it to myself. And so I think that's why I feel like the service part is that you're honing in on so important. And that's actually connected to our skill sets. The growth that we've had as a human being, as a coach, and also the things that we're learning where we can serve others with. So we focus too much on, how is the sales offer part going to be? How is this going to be? And like, I listen to coaching calls to just give feedback, and part of our contracts. And most of my feedback is coaching here. Offer part is minimal.
Yeah.
Because the whole session didn't go right. The rapport wasn't established properly. The connection wasn't established. There was no depth. There was no challenge. There was too much teaching, like stuff like that.
Mhm.
And by the time they got to the offer part of the discovery call or sales call, is like, it didn't mean anything because you could have been perfect in that part. You just blew the whole thing.
Yeah.
So really getting your skills honed in, and I love what you said, it's just like, this is something I learned from Rich Litvin. It's like, when I read that in his book, it's like, if you really want to be an extraordinary coach, coach, and coach. It does not matter who you coach, but coach, and coach. He's like, what sets me apart is that I went out there and coached a lot of people. And literally I adopted that.
Okay, you said two things that I want to riff off on. You're exactly right. At one point, I would be coaching, it's so insane. I can't even believe it. 40 to 50 people for 30 minutes each, a week. How can
That's
you
a
not?
lot.
I was at one point in the peak before I got decided to work smarter, not harder, but I had to get out there. It's too much. But how can you not get good? How can you not get good when you're working with hundreds by this point in time of different people with different problems back to back to back? That's why you have to go out and just be coaching, even if you're not getting paid right now, because that's how you get good. But you said something about the fear about the self-sabotage. This is like next level thinking. So after my clients become, then we move into highest self and leadership. So once you've kind of let some of those go, our fears serve us. We actually enjoy, in a weird way, the doom and gloom. So it's our fears keep us stuck. Here's a basic example. One of my clients, she's a real estate agent. She's had so much money that she has a lot of money. And then she has had allocated a certain amount of money to redo her kitchen. We have cleared and healed, and she's gotten everything else out of the way. She was self-sabotaging and not doing her kitchen, because once she does her kitchen, we've released all those fears. That was a lot of inner child stuff coming through with her kitchen, why she kept it, because it was keeping her to her roots of like small and simple. And when she let that last thing go, which was a fear she was holding on to redo it, who am I now if I've released all my fears? So I think fear work, when you get to, once you're past the beginning stages, leveraging and leaning into your fears and realizing they are self-satisfying and giving you a dopamine hit just in the wrong angle, then that's the real work, is when you lean into those fears.
Yeah.
I can tell that you have done a lot of work and conversations around all of this, which is so fascinating. Excuse me, so fascinating to hear and listen to. I feel like we could go on probably for another hour. I know you've got some stuff scheduled on your day today. So we have 4 questions that we all would love to ask all of our guests. And so given the amount of breadth that you have worked with people on mindset and business, thinking about all of the books that you've consumed and read, what would you say is one of the most influential books for you in your coaching journey?
Okay. There's so many books. I feel like I have 10 books going at any given time. Think Like a Monk was good for me. Do I need to be able to give you the title and the author?
No.
Is that by Jay Shetty?
Yes. Because I feel I mean, obviously it's what I'm passionate about. This is like my Super Bowl when we get into mindset and leadership and stuff. So I get so hyped, but it's just because I see the power of it. So anything you can do, I think of our body. Oh wait, I'm going off on a tangent. Think Like a Monk. There's my answer. Go off
on a tangent. It's okay.
Okay. So I feel like how I treat our business is your body is your capacity to earn. That's your energetic wealth container. So if you don't have the space for the abundance or your dreams, your desires, you're calling in, then you can't get to that next level. Here's another analogy, is like a piece of pizza. People can think about pizza easier. There's 8 slices. If you're worried about, again, going back to mindset, if you're worried about, this is the book, why it's important to keep your mind clear. If you've got family obligations and financial obligations and kids, and you're wearing many hats, and then maybe you have a health crisis or aging parents, each one of those things take up a piece of the pie. So if you can clear them, you have more space for what you're calling in. So the reason I think it's powerful, and I was the girl who also couldn't meditate for 1 minute. So like, if you told me to sit still for 1 minute, I was going to die. So it's like, I think there's so much power in unbecoming and surrender. And that's what that book is about, unbecoming.
Perfect. And who doesn't want more pieces of the pizza? I know, I do.
Right?
I love that visual. I just actually realized as soon as you said that, like I'm really attracted to personalities who are really different from me. In that sense, I think that's why I approached. Like I'm like, how do you think like that? So it's like Kelly and Sherry, we were both very on the opposite spectrum of how I am. Like when I read that, I could tell when you said think like a monk. I like the opposite type of books than that. I love that book, but I'm more like that. I like the other. I like your energy because I've gained a lot from that kind of like my energy. The way I've developed is being around people like you guys. So
Right.
That's awesome. Well, so how do you keep up your energy, Kelly? What are some of the hobbies that you like to do in your off time?
I would say, okay, it's not hobbies. It's not, I do feel like you're lit up by your life. And I always do chase a lighter feeling. I think that's important. So I'm doing a lot of like leaning into my highest self. What would my highest self do? What would this next version of me do? How would she show up? How would she speak? How would she act? But I think my secret sauce really comes down to gratitude. The very first thing I tell any client that ever comes into my space, your first homework is before your feet hit the floor any day of the week, you need to set a timer on your phone, and you need to give a person, place, or thing love, light, prayers, healing, whatever you are, doesn't matter. You have to lean into someone and something else. Most of us wake up worrying about yesterday's problems. Our bodies are dehydrated. That's why we need a drink in the morning. We're also emotionally dehydrated. The very first feeling you give it in the morning is how you're going to operate. And it's like priming you for the day, good in, good out. Regardless of however I'm feeling, it doesn't matter because I switch the feeling in my body and then perform from that alter state the rest of the day. So gratitude every morning, every day.
Good, solid advice. Absolutely. What do you think, Kelly, separates a successful coach from the coaches that start and try, but really never get any traction and they just give up?
Grit and mindset and consistency. I would say mindset is king and consistency is queen. So you can't have one without the other. I need you to leverage your mindset because you are your greatest asset. Beyond that, you need to have solid KPIs. We're not wishy-washy. You can't show up and expect a different solution for not working. So you have to have the duality of hard work. Not hard, because I work way less and make way more than I ever did owning a brick and mortar. Your version of hard, but when you are working, you work hard, and it has to be consistent. So I do a few things consistently well. I show up and I serve. We're back to that again. And you have to lean into, I'm a big component of inviting people into gray space. Most people are very black and white, kind of more in the drive, the masculine energy. Right away, you're getting into gray space because in all these gap periods, it's whatever your faith is, whatever your thing is, it doesn't matter. You have to learn to leverage faith versus fear in the gap. There's gaps. You're an entrepreneur. If you don't want the gaps and you don't want the roller coaster, again, go get a job. That's not what this is. This is your passion, and the possibility is what drives you as a coach.
Yeah. Last question. Squeak it in before we're done. Where do you think the field of coaching is headed?
Okay. That's maybe ruffles and feathers. I feel like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the online industry. So I feel like there's a more of a desire to come back to community. There's a lot of culture work in companies and organizations, but there's a lot to come back to authenticity. Anybody can get somebody a couple of quick results with making some money, or a lot of complaints I hear from the coaching industry, to be honest, is I paid them and then the performance or what I expected didn't match. I feel like when you charge mine's high ticket coaching. So when you charge a high price, you need to give a high value and a high service and get them results quickly. And I feel like it's become, when I first entered the online thing, the dream thing was $10,000 months. Then all of a sudden it became $100,000 months. And then now it's like $1 million months is like what people strive for. Like you're chasing money. That like, I want everybody to make a ton of money, but when you're chasing money, you're always in misery. That's a false positive. You're going to come back to, is this as good as it gets? Is this as good as it gets? But if you're serving and you stay tuned to your deeper why, which for me, my legacy is to have people earn, to have more money, more balance, more bank, and more peace. So that's what I stay focused on. So I think it's coming back to integrity, authenticity, and being able to back up what you say you can do, because there's a lot of people, it's kind of has become maybe an easy angle for some people to come into. Oh, I've done this, so I can do this. You know, coaching, we all are 2 to 3, whatever, 5 steps ahead of our ideal client. But I think people are becoming more aware of where they're spending the money and want to make sure that it's backed up with the performance, because a lot of people out there are getting burned. I think there's a big drive to community again. And there's a big drive to really have that close connection again. Did that answer your question to support?
Absolutely. Okay. Kelly, I'm sure that everybody's like, okay, I want to hear more. I want more of that. Okay. I want more of that. Where can people find you online? Because you're everywhere, right?
Yeah. And what I was going to say, I'm going to share one last thing on social media, because I know Faisal asked me to touch on that. TikTok and YouTube are more exposure platforms where you're using those to leverage, but then draw people in to where you're going to nurture them. Because Instagram is not a nurturing platform. Facebook is middle. So you have to use the larger platforms to get more eyes on you and then draw the traffic in there. So actually here 5 years later, I'm having my website redone because I was like, okay, maybe I should do it. You can go to my website, but it's under construction. That's kellyadamscoaching.com. But I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram the most, Kelly Adams Coaching.
Awesome. Excellent. Kelly, thank you so much for sharing your story, your time, your energy, your wisdom with Faisal.
I know, I got so much wisdom today.
And the rest of us, This was a true pleasure and delight. And folks, those of you that are listening, make sure you share this with your coaching friends. People need to, these are the conversations, these are the learnings from other coaches that we all need. We all need to understand this is hard, but it's worthy, and there is a path forward. How do you do it? And who do you work with? Who do you trust? All of those things. So like this, subscribe, give us a review, please. Honestly, if you're listening to this in podcast, reviews are everything. Just get this out there, and we appreciate your guys listening and giving us feedback and commenting and all of the good things that you do.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast.